Hafidades and Manana Situ, Simina 85, na legislature in Guam is back from recess. Minority Leader Senator Talo Taidagui, you are recognized on Bill 141-35 COR.
Sijus Masi, Madam Speaker, and before I get started, I just want to thank those mayors that were at the public hearing this morning on the bill to provide funding for our roads. It was long, but it was a really good hearing, so I hope my colleagues have an opportunity to review the taping on that. So, Madam Speaker, I move to place Bill 141-35 as amended, an act to amend 61545 of Sub-Article 5, Article 5, Chapter 61, Division 2, Title 21, Guam Code Annotated, relative to violations of sign regulations by the Committee on Health, Tourism, Historic Preservation, Land, and Justice in the third reading file, and I ask that I may briefly introduce the bill.
Please proceed, Minority Leader.
Sijus Masmi, Madam Speaker. I'd like to thank Committee Chairwoman Senator Therese Chaloy and her office for helping to prepare Bill 141 as amended for session this month. Madam Speaker, Bill 141 as amended builds upon consensus that legislature established in November of 2019 for sign violations in other Tumon H resort zones through Bill 86-35, which is now Public Law 35-52. Bill 141 as amended proposes similar penalties for sign violations in other zones recognized in Guam's real property statute, including residential, agricultural, commercial, and industrial zones. Madam Speaker, as I stated during the public hearing on this measure, examples of current laws that would be covered by Bill 141 if there is a violation include 61541A, 1 for residential and agricultural zones, on non-moving, non-flashing signs for each family residing on the premises indicating the name of the resident and pertaining to the permitted occupation, provided that each such sign does not exceed 3 square feet in area. For an example is 61541B1C for commercial zones. Individual signs shall not cover an area in excess of 10% of the surface of the wall in which they are attached. And 61541C2B for industrial zones. Such structure shall not be placed closer than 10 feet to any street or highway right-of-way. Madam Speaker, according to the information DPW provided to BBMR in preparation for physical note for Bill 141, between the period of March 3rd, 2018 through December 26, 2018, DPW issued 27 sign violations. Madam Speaker, based on recommendations provided during the public hearing on Bill 141, the measure as amended proposes that any person or business who violates any provisions of signage law for residential, agricultural, commercial, and industrial zone shall have a penalty not exceeding $1,000. Furthermore, a $300 penalty, which may be waived by DPW, will be assessed per day for each remaining violation, and failure to pay penalty to rectify violations may result in suspension or revocation of the sign owner's business license. However, Madam Speaker, DPW may waive parts or all of the late action penalties should the violation demonstrate a good faith effort to address the violation in a timely manner, provided that such waiver is limited to no more than 30 calendar days, and all penalties will be deposited into a proposed public signage enforcement fund. Madam Speaker, I provided a couple of amendments here that have been passed out. If I may proceed with my amendments for this bill.
Please proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Speaker, we'll go with the first one, which is on line 8, page 11. Okay, and basically this amendment, what it does, Madam Speaker, let me first read it for you. It says, Section 1545, Penalty A, any person or business who violates any provision of 61541, 61544 of this chapter shall pay a civil penalty of $1,000 for each violation. If a violation is not corrected within 10 business days, a receipt of the notice of violation for Department of Public Works, the sign owner shall be subject to an additional late action civil penalty of $300 per day for each remaining violation. Failure to pay penalties and to rectify the violation may result in the termination or renewal of the sign permit. Madam Speaker, the reason why I'm proffering this amendment was a conversation that I had with DPW Deputy Director Garcia. And he states, okay, the original bill states that up to, not to exceed, on the original bill, not to exceed $1,000. So he says, how do we determine not to exceed $1,000? If the intent is to provide a penalty of $1,000, it should be $1,000 because at DPW, they're not quite sure if they should make it 500, make it 300, make it 400, et cetera down the line. It doesn't make sense. He said that it would be best to make it 1,000. And based on the public hearing, most businesses down there can afford like $300, $400, $500. But when you put in an amount of $1,000, which is currently in the law, and say, no, there's not up to, it is $1,000. It is $1,000. That's a great deterrence from anybody. One of the other things that was brought up, Madam Speaker, during the public hearing, which I thought was quite, well, not amusing, but kind of made sense, was when, I can't seem to find it here, I'll try and recollect what he said, but he basically said that if you're driving down the street and you get pulled over by a police officer, let's say you were speeding, you were pulled over by the police officer. Oh, I found it here. And it was stated that, and I'm going to quote here, it's kind of like getting a speeding ticket. If a police officer pulls me over for speeding, he issues me a notice of violation, which is a speeding ticket. And do I have 30 days to slow down? I have to pay that violation. I've already broken the law. And it was then that it makes sense. If you're going to put up a sign, you better know the laws and what you can and cannot do. And if you break those laws, then it should be a violation of $1,000 and not leave it up to DPW to figure out how much money that would be. So that's my first amendment, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, I have another amendment that's going to coexist with a current law that was just recently passed for the digital signs to actually make that change in that same area. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Taitigui, Minority Leader. I just want to note for the record, so based on your statement, clerks asked to verify it. The amendment, colleagues, is on page 1, lines 8 and 11. And if you look at the amendment, what you are deleting is not to exceed on line 8 and then on line 11. Is that?
That's correct.
Yeah, yes.
That's
And
correct,
you're
Madam
adding on.
Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
I stand corrected. Thank you.
On that amendment by the Minority Leader, Senator Kelly March Taitano, you are recognized on the Taitigui amendment.
Sainamaasi, Madam Speaker. And I do appreciate the bill overall. We do want to make sure that if signs are out there, they have a very important duty. They're getting information across to people, and there are certain rules and regulations that they need to abide by. I have an amendment to proffer to this amendment, and it is to put the not to exceed back into this amendment. I think this amendment does some very important things. It clarifies things, it improves the language, but to put the not to exceed back in. I have an amendment as well, and it was an issue I brought up at the public hearing, that we are talking about, as the author mentioned, some of these violations could potentially be against residential owners who may not understand that their family name or the address of their home cannot exceed 3 square feet. It also applies to churches, to schools, and nonprofit institutions. So it applies to a variety of types of situations, and it's a very harsh penalty. And so my point during the hearing and now that I offer as a means of collegiality and a means to take care of our community together is to have this not to exceed or up to sort of language so that there is that ability to address issues that are smaller violations or violations by a single residence, property owner that may have not understood, such as myself. I did not understand that or was not aware of that 3 square feet regulation as just a residence owner until we went through this bill. So I think it holds true to the intent of the bill. It helps put into place the ability to have a graduated scale of addressing these violations, and it still allows for the intent of the bill to make sure that our community interests are well served, that we're addressing these in a timely manner, and that we are making sure that the information on these signs is indeed following the rules and regulations that are in place. So if I might borrow that analogy or build on it, if we're pulled over by a police officer and given a speeding ticket, the fine is a graduated fine based on how fast we've been speeding and what types of violations may have been part of that. So I'd ask to kindly have the author consider the merit of that, and that it does still allow the intent of the bill to be in place.
So, yes, Senator Titano, I just want to share with you that the impetus of the original, of the minority leader's amendment was to make sure that we take it out. So,
Right, so my amendment,
so
now that we know that there's another
to the
amendment
amendment.
coming.
So, you know what? I'm going to take a moment's recess so that we can have a healthy discussion on this. A moment's recess.
Okay.
Semina 85 na legislature in Guam is back from recess. Senator Marsh Taitano, I'm going to recognize you at this time.
Sainamaasi, Madam Speaker. So the recess was very productive. It's important for us all to be working together towards what's good for the community. So with that, we have come to a resolution. I will withdraw my objection at this time so that we can work on the
So
resolution
you
together.
can, on that, make that motion, move to withdraw your amendment
Yes, I motion to withdraw my objection to the amendment.
to the Taitagüe amendment. On that motion, without any objection, motion carries. Colleagues, it's 11:40 right now. We're going to go ahead and take a break until 2 o'clock on that motion. 2:30. On the motion, Senator San Augustine.
Yes, Madam Speaker, if we can recess to 2:30.
On that motion, no objection. We are in recess to 2:30.